strategies. So the first portion covers the four corners. Who am I? Who are you? The relationship axis, the midheaven, contribution to the world, and the home and roots. So that's the four corners. And relationship material from Venus, Mars. We covered that in the first reading. These are sort of the life intentions. The sun in Aries shines over everything. So that gives us an idea about your, some people might call it your ego or your sense of self. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Has this Aries, direct, fierce, committed to a cause type of overall energy from Aries. And Mercury, being your communication style, is in Pisces in the 5th house. So loving, empathic. I really enjoy reading your emails. It's like you're talking to me. It's just so natural and beautiful, and I feel it. I feel the empathy and compassion, and the feeling tone is definitely there in your writing style. So that's Mercury, the way you communicate, the mediums that you use, the way you perceive things. Those things are part of the tools for life intentions. And now we're going to look at the way in which you meet those intentions from the aspects. So as you probably know, all the things in red are considered to be hard. I call them dynamic. So the squares and the oppositions and the conjunctions, places where we are being asked to do alchemy, to combine the two energies of two different things and bringing them together to form this third thing, which will be unique and new from you, as you. And then the blue lines represent easy flows of energy that are helpful. It's like a helping hand reaching across from this over to this. So it's easy flow of energy. Let's start off with, we kind of got deep into Pluto on the ascendant, Pluto being one of your main teachers in everyday life, something that you're here to learn about as Scorpio rising with Pluto on the ascendant. Let's look at the, we also talked a little bit about this opposition in the relationship material, and I want to get a little bit deeper into this now. So from the perspective of Venus being next to the moon the night you were born, to me, the instant thing that I feel with this is the connection with the mother, the connection with the feminine, the connection with emotionality. And the questions I want to ask is, did you feel like your mother was your physical earth mother? As your first experience of a woman, maybe of femininity, maybe not. She doesn't have to. Mothers don't have to really represent femininity. They do represent mother, like, whew. So what I want to do is find mother within myself. How am I mothering and nurturing myself? And the moon is a very good, helpful thing for that. Looking at how, sorry, there's all this stuff coming in, because moon is your mother. It is you as your inner nurturing, your emotional support, your mother, the way that you are mothering yourself, and that the birth mother would be the first representation of that. And since it's so close to Venus, the questions I want to ask have to do with how have you projected your inner mother onto the feminine, onto bodies of women bodies, women. Okay. Those who have a womb, those who are breasted creatures, the women, And if not that, have you found partners who most are close to that, who maybe they do have breast tissue, maybe they are womb-like, maybe cuddling with them feels like being in a womb. And that, if that is a thing for you, if that is something you've experienced, how is that helping you get into your own feminine essence? And how does that help you remember or recollect, reconnect with your inner womb, your inner feminine? And that is in direct opposition to Pluto and the rising sign. So let's break this down a little bit more and look at Venus opposite Pluto. In in the relationship material, if we're going to do, just focusing on, I have a reading only focused on reclaiming your inner feminine and your inner masculine. There's a whole bunch of work to do just on that alone. You have one of the expressions of the feminine that is one of the most challenging to deal with. So whenever Pluto is opposite Venus, and regardless of your preference for relationships, for a man, Venus represents the other, the beloved that you most wish to connect with. What I have personally found in my life is that when I'm fully embodying my Venus, I am attracted to my Mars archetype. When I am fully embodying my Mars archetype, I am attracted to my Venus. So there is some flexibility on this. It's not going to be just because the textbook says it. And it's, there's so many different textbooks. So it really is about feeling and asking these questions to yourself. So what I'm saying now is that Venus, it would be your beloved, the form of the beloved that you most wish to connect with is Taurus, and that is directly opposite Pluto. So this being something challenging, being that this beloved or the relationship with the beloved would bring you to your knees, would have you in that underworld experience. My body's just crunching down, getting into the pelvis. It really brings that, in a woman's womb, there is that whole uterine shedding, and the cycle of death and rebirth happens all the time in female bodies, and maybe in males too. There is a constantly regenerating sperm that dies. So, maybe you guys have it even faster. Death, rebirth, death, rebirth, death, rebirth. And I never thought of that before. So thank you so much. This is really, I'm going to sit with this and take this further, because I always feel that men have a womb. And I feel that the prostate is their womb. The prostate is that womb that provides structure. It provides fluids. It's going to be secreting fluids that protect the sperm. And it's a place that we don't care about, know about. I had a 55-year-old man who's very smart, super awesome guy, who was like, tell me about the prostate. This has kind of done some research, but doesn't really know fully about it. What does that do? What is it for? And that got me really like, oh, well, what is that? And in investigating prostate, for me, what I saw was, I know I'm getting a little bit off your reading here. I'll get back to it. But what I really saw was how the regenerative organs, when you're inside your mother's womb and you haven't been identified as boy or girl yet, and it's because we don't know yet. There is a moment where all the babies are not gendered, and the regenerative organs haven't either protruded down and out of the body as testicles and penis or lingam, and they haven't retracted up yet as a cervix and uterus and fallopian tubes. There's this moment in time when we're all the same. And then that choice comes either from spirit and genetics and XY chromosomes and DNA and all of these kind of things that make that choice. And it either goes down or it goes up. And in doing all this in my mind, like watching that happen, the womb or the uterus, I was like, well, maybe